I get lost a lot. I imagine that doesn't surprise a lot of you. But I do. I get lost a lot. Back before we had GPS, my wife, Michelle, and our boys kept a notebook in the car where they would log all of the wrong turns I made. And when we went on family trips, they would pull it out and reminisce about all of the places we had accidentally visited. Perhaps marriage and children was a wrong turn for me along the way. But they were justified. It was true. I made a lot of wrong turns, but I didn't get lost because I made wrong turns. I made wrong turns because I was lost. I was lost in thought, lost in conversation, lost in ideas and imagination, lost in dreams, lost in anxiety. So I would be lost. Mary and Joseph got lost. One of the neat things about this gospel story of the Holy Family is that the child, the 12-year-old kid, isn't lost. The parents are. He knows exactly where he is. He is centered in the oneness and the presence of God. But his parents get lost in the planning and the logistics of the travel, the exhaustion of several days on the road and Passover. They get lost in the revelry of family and acquaintances and the tribe. They get lost in all of the anxieties and everything that comes with all of that. And they leave Christ behind. How often do we do the exact same thing? How often do we get lost in the moment? Lost in our own fears and anxieties, lost in our stresses, lost in our egos and opinions, lost in all of our busyness and activities, and leave Christ behind. We all do it from time to time. We get lost. And when we do, we are invited to follow the example of Mary and Joseph and return to the temple of our hearts where Christ waits for us. Many of you are aware from past homilies and things I've written that I sort of shrug my shoulders a little bit at the keep Christ in Christmas rhetoric. Not that it's not important. It is important, but I don't think that's the problem. I really don't. My gosh, were you here on Christmas? This place was packed to the rafters. Next year we're going to have to hire those guys who work the Tokyo subway and close the doors. We had all the chairs set up, and by 20 to 4 they were full. We had to go in the basement and get more. And we had them down the center aisle. We had extra rows up front. And the Trinity Chapel was full. And all the way back to the Seton statue was packed full. We were wedging chairs everywhere they would fit. And generosity and volunteerism peaks over the holidays. People like Mary and Joseph respond to the call. We are one family at Christmas, and we gather as one family, and we celebrate as one family. And it's beautiful, and it's wonderful. And then we get busy, and we get caught up. We get caught up in everything that's out there. The news and the stress and the budget. We get caught up in all that, and we leave Christ back here. There's such a deep spiritual teaching in this gospel story for us. That deep teaching that invites us to come back. When we're to come back as Mary and Joseph came back to find Christ. When we feel disconnected from our meaning, from our mission in life, from our purpose, right? And like any parent, when we raise our children, our identity shifts, right? And that gives our life meaning and purpose. So you can imagine Mary and Joseph, that when they're disconnected from their son, that they're also disconnected from their identity, from their meaning, from their purpose. And how often do we feel lost? How often do we feel floundering, that we are disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from meaning? And at those times, we are invited, like Mary and Joseph, to come on back. To come on back to the temple of our hearts where Christ is waiting for us. Because that's the only place. That's the only place where we can find that center, where we can reconnect and reunite with truth and meaning and purpose. That's the only place where we reunite with the sacred oneness of God and find peace and hope. Come on back. If you're looking for any sort of New Year's resolution at this point, I would simply suggest that you begin with 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day. And then for every week, add another minute until you get to 20 minutes of sitting in meditative silence to reconnect with the Christ who dwells in the temple of your heart. Because that's the only place where we can have that connection, in the contemplative heart